This is the Chinese University of Hong Kong, one of the city's most prestigious schools, and right now it resembles a wasteland following a week-long protest. In fact, it was right here in September I met a 24-year-old named Robin during a peaceful rally. He later returned here as a medical aide during a protest right here on the school campus, turning his place into what police call a rioters' bomb factory.
In October the 1st,
Robin agreed to speak with me again near the city's Chu Mu subway station, our taped second conversation. He wears a mask and dresses in black to show his support for protesters, including those getting increasingly violent.
The anger towards police is growing too high, it's growing too big. Even in my standard, I could not imagine the front line, what they think about police, what they would do to the police.
And some protesters say like they cannot stop right now. Why stop? Why can't they just stop?
Only if the government stop, like only if the police stop, then.
But also the basic law gives the power to police to interfere with unauthorized gatherings, right?
But if within a university, how can you tell if it's students or not? Even though if you try to enter and try to arrest and try to investigate, you still have to follow the structure. You still have to follow the steps. You have a warrant for arresting, for searching, then you can enter. Then no one can stop you. In the same time, if students still trying to stop you from entering, then it's their fault. But first they need to have that warrant.
But what about the march on October the 1st, which was banned by the police?
There was in September, I believe, there was also a protest that wasn't banned by the police.
But what about those banned ones? Can the police arrest everyone?
I have to just give a very interesting observation first. Now, within September, the protest within Trimun, the park that we're in right now, is actually police agreed to let the protest run for 2 hours. But then within the first half an hour, the police suddenly start to arresting people. Even the police agree or disagree on the protest, then they will just keep arresting people. So they don't care. So that's why they just stand outside. They don't care if the police agree or disagree on the protest or not, because they think protest is what should be owned. It's the right to own by people. You don't have to decide or listen to the police, to the government. Rather, they let you do it or not letting you do it. Because protest is also
so protesters are also giving up on the basic law.
Something it's inside the mind of protesters. Something it's higher than the basic law. It's the word of freedom.
So the protesters think they are above the law.
The whole thing is actually, if you really have to ask clearly, actually, the whole protest, many steps of them are outside the law. It's outside the basic law, but still they do it because they think that they are chasing on something which is higher than the basic law, which is freedom. Like having a protest at any time, any situation.
So they are asking for a lawless society.
Not lawless
so free
society.
from law.
Not lawless society. Like having a protest in a peaceful way.
But right now it's not peaceful.
It's not peaceful. It's sometimes like the police think you are not peaceful. Then they start to attack. And then at the same time, you're forcing the protesters to defend for themselves. From my observation, like maybe 10 times, up to 9 times, the police attack first. The police actually just fired tear gas first. Like
during all the protests or those unauthorized protests?
Authorized or unauthorized, both of them. Like in September, the protest in Trimun, even the police agree with it, but then suddenly they just start to chase after protesters, and then start to arresting people. The protest in Central, from the white colors, is pretty peaceful in the beginning, and then police starts to form defense line and suddenly shoot tear gas and just make them no choice but to open the umbrella defense shield and then to just suddenly participate into.
But it was
further
unauthorized.
Step. Yes,
right?
it was unauthorized. But for me, if I am a squad leader, I am one of the person in charge of the police, I would just let them finish the protest. They're working actually. It's just a lunchtime. If you let them finish the parade, they will just go back to their offices. Nothing will happen.
But the law is law, isn't it?
Yeah, but law is law. But sometimes you can find a better way to just mix it not to get worse. Sometimes if you take an action within the guideline, maybe it would even get much out of control. This is because maybe I'm not from the police force. If I am, maybe I will think differently, right? Like maybe I will have a totally different standpoint.
Robin says he enjoyed our conversation, which kept him thinking about the ongoing movement in Hong Kong. He also told me that he no longer dares to wear all black while walking alone due to concerns that some might attack him on the streets, as the color is being increasingly associated with the violence. Xu Xinchen, CGTN, Hong Kong.